We have team coverage for you tonight on a rising problem all across the country. Teenagers making terroristic threats against schools.
Tonight, we focus on threats made in Texoma on both sides of the Red River. Plus, we turn our attention to Washington, where guns and school safety were one of the topics of the day.
But we start in Texas, where the 3 arrests have been made in the last month in response to threats made against schools.
Camille Connor joins us live from the Wichita County Juvenile Detention Center. And Camille, employees say they take each threat very seriously.
Whether or not a student actually plans to carry out their threat, if they get arrested, they could end up in this building being questioned. And that's why probation officers like the one I spoke with today are warning students to watch what they say. Kirk Wolf has been a juvenile probation officer since the 80s. Back then, he used to deal with kids in gangs.
When you're dealing with a kid who was involved in gang activity, you knew it. You could see it on their outward appearance.
But when it comes to what seems to be a growing threat of school shooters,
they don't have those outward appearances of being a delinquent. They are not typically, using drugs, staying out late at night, running the streets.
But when they make a school threat, their words aren't taken lightly.
The consequences of them following through with what they say they're going to do are serious. People die.
The number of threats kids in Wichita County have made have increased in the last couple of years. The number of charges for a terroristic threat is at 19 so far this year, double the amount in 2017 and already more than all of 2018. Wolf says when a student is sent to them for making a threat, they look into things like the student's behavior, do home visits, and sometimes even perform psychological evaluations. While he says most don't pose serious danger,
there are those times when we get those cases, as I said, and they require more diligent investigation.
If it's determined the student is a serious threat, it can lead to them being sent to an alternative school and can even mean they'll be on probation until they become a legal adult. In the last month, Nocona ISD, Petrolia ISD, Seymour ISD, and Wichita Falls ISD have all had to investigate school threats. 3 of those investigations have led to arrests, one of them at Wichita Falls High School.
We investigate every threat as if it's a legitimate threat until we determine that it's not.
WFISD Superintendent Michael Curtis said while most of the time there are no serious safety issues with the district students, the possibility of the unthinkable happening has caused them to up security measures and train staff on active shooting situations. It's also led to parents calling on the school board to take further action.
Parents would be up to having metal detectors in our schools.
Kurt says it's something they've considered but haven't implemented for several reasons, including funds, the challenges that would come with trying to install them in aging buildings, and the impact it would have on students.
Everybody's experience at that school would change if every student had to walk through a metal detector.
We are digging deeper into a report released from the Wichita Falls City Attorney's Office. The clerk's office released the report that gives details of an investigation into an ethics complaint filed against City Councilor Steve Jackson.
And Camille Connor spent the day reading over it and joins us with a closer look at the findings from the city attorney. Camille.
This 54-page report written by City Attorney Kinley Heglin contains several interviews, signed affidavits, statements, and even emails from city officials. Much of the investigation was conducted in July, and the Wichita Falls City Council will be basing their course of action off its findings in a hearing next week. City Attorney Kinley Heglin conducted 9 interviews following a complaint made by Mayor Steven Santayana claiming that City Councilor Steve Jackson had violated Ethics Code 2-146, which pertains to council members making false and misleading statements. Disciplinary action for violating this rule includes possible suspension, forfeit of salary, or expulsion from the City Council. The report says citizens with businesses downtown say they were approached by Councilor Jackson, who told them that the city was planning to take their properties using either eminent domain or certificates of obligation in order to build a municipal center, which was one of the projects defeated in the city's bond election in May 2018. He also told them that the city was making deals under the table to take their property and not allow citizens to vote on it. And he added the city would not pay business owners what their property is worth. The Wichita Falls city manager, assistant city manager, property administrator, and mayor all deny the claims that Councilor Jackson is said to have made regarding building a new municipal center on properties downtown. In the report, city officials say they are only planning to make improvements on Memorial Auditorium since the bond issue to build a new municipal center failed. Based on answers from city officials, Attorney Heglin found that there was nothing to indicate that the city has plans to take anyone's property to build a municipal center. Heglin also states that he did reach out to Councilor Jackson and was willing to listen to any witnesses and look at any evidence Jackson presented to him. Jackson never took the city attorney up on that offer and has since gotten legal representation. Jackson's legal team said in a letter to the city that he was simply exercising his First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and if they attempt to remove him from office, his attorney plans to take matters to federal court.
Another fire breaks out tonight at an auto repair shop in Quanah after an explosion earlier this morning leaves one person dead and 2 injured. I'm Chris Horgan.
And I'm Ashley Fitzwater. The first fire was around 11:30 today. Camille Connor has been on the scene all day long. She joins us live with the latest tonight. And Camille, you were the one who called firefighters about that building catching fire again tonight.
Ashley and Chris, as you said, me and my photographer have been here at Eisenhower Auto Repair since earlier this afternoon. And as we were preparing for tonight's newscast, we saw flames break out in the back of the shop. I called 911 and first responders arrived to the scene around 8 p.m., among them the Quanah Fire Department. They had to cut the lock off the gate to get inside. They've since put the fire out. One DPS officer and Hardin County Sheriff's deputies say that now they have the task of monitoring the shop throughout the night to make sure another fire doesn't break out. Now, the fire we witnessed tonight was much, much smaller than the explosion that happened this morning. The explosion took the life of 69-year-old Robert Floyd Pierce. And as far as those 2 burn victims, I've since learned that one was Gerald Eisenhower, the owner of this shop, and his brother, Robert Eisenhower. I've gotten in contact with UMC Lubbock where they were care flighted, and one hospital official tells me they are in critical condition. I also spoke with some customers who came by to find out what happened, and one man tells me he can't believe just how different it looks now compared to what it looked like this morning before the explosion.
I was just in shock.
Chris Canales had dropped off his pickup truck at Eisenhower Auto Repair early this morning.
I was talking to an older man. Me and that older guy were just in there talking for a little while and got to know him a little bit, and he was telling me about his family here in Quanah.
The older man, Robert Floyd Pierce, chatted with Chris about his grandchildren. Along with good conversation, there was no shortage of hospitality at the shop. Chris got a ride home to Chillicothe thanks to the shop owner himself, Gerald Eisenhower. But Chris never could have imagined that those same men would be victims of an explosion just hours later. First responders from Quanah, Chillicothe, and Crowell fire departments helped put the fire out. Gerald and his brother Robert were outside being treated by DPS troopers when Hardin County Sheriff Pat Lothry says he arrived. But 69-year-old Robert Floyd Pierce had died inside.
He was also a firefighter. Family told me he retired from the Vernon Fire Department. I don't know how long ago, but this was kind of like a moonlighting job that he just did to stay busy. And it's a tragedy, and it affects a small town, especially when everybody knows the individuals. And we just give our prayers to the family.
It's a hot-button issue affecting schools across the country. Stories of kids reaching the end of the lunch line and having their hot lunches thrown away and replaced with cold ones. Business owners offering to pay off lunch debt and being told no by school district officials. But the lunch staff at Zunde Elementary welcomes donations. Melissa Gilbert knows firsthand how students feel when they don't have money to pay for a meal.
It breaks my heart. I think it really actually breaks anybody's heart. I mean, we do have rules and regs that we have to follow, but here it touches home.
So when a woman came into the cafeteria yesterday,
A lady came up and just asked for a listing of any of the students that may not have any money on their accounts.
what she handed back in return was beyond anything they'd seen before.
She came back, she had like 62 names circled. And she said, "Oh, yeah, I'm paying for all of them," and then hand her over $500 and something in cash.
The students got to eat the same hot meal as everyone else. 90% of students at Zunde receive free and reduced lunches, and 67% of the 14,000 students in Wichita Falls ISD have signed on to the National School Lunch Program. A short drive up I-44, almost 50% of over 3,000 students in Burke-Burnett ISD are also a part of the federal program.
Food shaming is not what we do.
They give kids hot lunches no matter what. As the director of child nutrition, Deb Welch says, in a perfect world, students wouldn't have to pay at all, but the district simply can't make that happen.
So it's very expensive. We could have one school maybe that did, but by doing that, we decided that if you have a child that goes to one school and into another, well, why do they get free lunches here, but I have to pay here? It's not truly feasible to do it.
Lunch is important for students to stay energized and focused in class. It's why City View ISD is serving all of their students lunch for free.
I was walking through the cafeterias, especially at the junior high school, and just seeing some things that really disturbed me. I would ask kids, why are you not eating? And they would say, don't have any money.
Tony Bashong leads a district that's much smaller than Burke-Burnett and Wichita Falls ISD. But since over 60% of the 1,000 students in the district are considered low income, he and the district's board members took a chance.
CEP is a program where the federal government supplements for the meals. So the first year we were not sure how it was going to work. We budgeted for a loss of about $100,000. We didn't lose $100,000, thankfully. Had some good management. We only lost $40,000.
So far, paying for students' lunches has paid off.
This year, we're not expecting to lose anything. This year, we're being reimbursed at 91%. So the district is only picking up 9%. Going into it, there's a fear because you don't know if you're going to lose money, but it's just best for our kids.
Camille Connor, News Channel 6.